Good afternoon, bookworms and flyleafs. Welcome to this Friday's episode of Author Reads here on Fae Productions. I'm your host, Fairy Princess Lolly, and today I'm here with Michael K. Falciani. And before we jump into the things, I'm going to give a shout out here to our show sponsors, and of course, ask you to like, subscribe, and revenge the bell, which I think you'll understand since our today's story has kind of a vengeance theme to it. Michael, we always do something different to our bell because we got bored with just always ringing it. So now we're just abusing our bell constantly. So today we're going to revenge the bell. So, for the bell. I'm so glad to be back with you guys. Actually, it's been a couple of weeks since we've had a show here. There was just Fairy Blossom Festival, and then we were out of town in Spokane doing some LARPy things out there. So it's been a really busy few weeks, and we were not able to get the show scheduled. But we are back, at least right now, for the nonce, until further notice. And also a shout out to the LARP Fairies, who are some of our fun YouTube collaborative friends, but they are also sponsors of our show today, and they were Fairy Blossom Festival vendors. They are two magical, lovely beings. I'm sure you've seen them here actually before, who make crocheted goodies. And I don't have my mushroom hanging behind me. I was going to show you. I have actually one of their amanitas that they've done. And if you are at all hang out with us in the hedge on Discord, you have seen their stuff float around there. They're pretty popular. So they offer their crocheted items on their Etsy page. Many of their items are geared more towards LARP, with live action role play, for those of you who don't know, and geek nerd culture. They offer free shipping on orders over $35, and they do travel a lot for their job, at least during non-COVID times. And you can join them as they explore the natural world around them. They are often always going to events. I also know, because I saw them recently post, that at this very exact moment, as of yesterday, that they are looking for a couple of crochet pattern testers. So if you happen to be one of those people that crochets and you would like to maybe test some of their patterns, give me a shout out or something in either the chat or in the hedge on Discord, and I can put you into contact with them, because I know that they are looking for some people to do that. So with that said, that is everything. Like, go follow them. Their information's in the low bar on the ticker. You guys know how this works. And welcome to Michael. Good afternoon, sir. It's a pleasure to have you here on the show.
Thank you. I am so happy the internet gremlins finally went away for a while.
Yes, I've swapped our places, because I was like, I am not you, and I realized that your banner was just like over my name. There we go. Good. Well, so where are you actually at, since we've determined where I'm located, but not you?
Right. I live in Carson City, Nevada. I grew up in upstate New York, but I currently live in Carson City, Nevada. We've got fires raging all around us, so we've got quite the smoke-filled sky. So I'm happy to stay inside and
Where is that relax. In relation to Las Vegas?
Yeah, Las Vegas is a good. Reno is half an hour to the north of us. South Tahoe is it's right there. It's 20 minutes to the west. But Vegas, everybody thinks, Nevada, you must be close to Vegas. No, we're a good 7 hours away in a fast car. If I'm driving, I'm driving maybe 6 hours. My wife is driving like 8. So
it's very flat out there, though, so it can probably get fun to drive, I would imagine.
Yeah, you got to be.
At least I think of it as flat.
There's some mountains, and there's plenty of basins. You got to watch it though. Johnny Lawman's out there; he'll get you.
Yeah, I don't know why. Like, of all the places and to go get people, that's not it. So tell me a little bit today. I mean, really, like, it's the open road. Who even cares? Let people do 500 miles per hour.
They know they got it covered.
Yeah, they got to get you. They got to pay for those roads somehow, I guess.
That's right. I don't think I'll ever drive again. I'm flying. It's an hour flight. Right. I'm like, I'll do
that. So tell me a little bit about your book today. Let's hear about what you've written for us.
So I've written this is an epic fantasy novel. Oops, there we go. This is called The Raven and the Crow: Dark Storm Rising. It's in the vein of Game of Thrones kind of thing. I don't think it's quite as savage is that one. But you know, I've been an epic fantasy fan my whole life. It follows two different storylines. One is one that I'm going to read today. Talks about these two brothers that are really just trying to find their place in the world. And you realize as you're reading it, well, something's happened to these guys because they're not really that nice. They're pretty they're pretty mean. And you know, they have plenty of things that are going to happen to them. They are quite savage. Let's see. I wrote Kildare has become the two brothers. One, his name is Kildare. The other one is Zidane. Kildare is the older brother. He's become an instrument of blood and steel, where the speed of his sword arm meets out his own brand of justice. And while they're working for this mysterious sage Blade, they stumble upon Chameleon, who is a runaway tribeswoman who displays, you know, extraordinary powers. And while this meeting of theirs is a chance encounter, she carries that's going to change not only the future of the two brothers, but really the fate of the world. So that's kind of the bare bones of it without getting into too many details.
So if she's going to change their future, that means that they were going to have a different future altogether. So does that mean that you do or don't believe in destiny, like in fate?
I mean, you know, I as a younger man, I would say I did believe in it a little, and then I kind of reality hits. But then, you know, you meet somebody, you're like, wow, I'm really getting along. I think destiny has a lot to do with it, actually. So I'm slowly becoming a believer again.
So when you said that the older brother was like this instrument of blood and steel, I was like,
yes,
I was like, the riddle of steel. What is the riddle of steel, Conan?
Oh, Conan the Barbarian, the original. What a classic!
Right?
Yeah, no, these guys, really, the younger brother Zidane is, you know, he kind of keeps the older one in check because they're both quite, you know, deadly mercenaries, warriors, however you want to say it. And again, I don't want to give away too much with these two guys,
right.
but they were such fun characters to write, and really they all were. Every character, even the ones you're going to kill off and you just put on for 5 seconds. They have backstory. What's that motivation? You know, what are they do? Why are they doing what they're doing? So it's pretty fun. I really love to write. Yeah.
Tell me about the world a little bit that this is taking place in. Is it just like an alternate dimension? Is it a alternate timeline of the world that we're currently in? Are they on a different planet?
Yeah, this is a different planet. This was, you know, I keep, you get into this thing, and I started writing this thing, you know, I was 20 some odd years old. I started writing this thing years ago, and you don't really think about world building. I didn't even know what that was. I was like, yeah, just do it like that. No one's going to care. People care. So you're like, why did this not make sense? I'm like, I'm sorry, you're right. I'm going to fix that. So, you know, thank goodness I have some alpha readers that, you know, give me that information. But yeah, this is an alternate planet. It's based on it. There is some magic in it. The Crystalline Sea. I really had the Mediterranean Sea in mind when I designed the map. And different, you know, different flavors, different cultures of different people that are around there. They all speak the same language, although you will hear different accents from time to time. Yeah, the world building is so fun because you get to, as you're writing along, as I'm sure you know, something will pop up in your head, and then I say, well, how is that going to affect the rest of the story? What can I do? Oh man, I need to change it. And so your world gets built and built. And I actually designed a gambling card game as I was sitting on the beach in Mexico. I thought about this card game
you were on the beach in Mexico writing, like with your laptop. You're just out there like, click, 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 click. Look at my office, everybody.
I mean, when you're married to a sugar mama, oh my God, don't tell her I said that. She better not be here. No, I'm kidding. Of course, we're both teachers. We really don't have any money, but we happen to get away to Mexico. I think we had a chance. It was our one shot. And as I was sitting there, I mean, everybody else is on the beach. They're having a good time. Pina coladas are flowing. And I'm like, you know what I need? I need a good gambling game for my fantasy world. And I read this story that I'd read when I was a kid about, you know, Gary Gygax himself. And he had something like that in one of his books. Yeah. And so I went back. I was like, you know, maybe I can download. I downloaded. I read the chapter. I was like, you know what? I don't really understand what he's doing, but I'm going to use this as a basis. And so I was actually able to come up with my own gambling game. And actually, when I got home, I spent 24 hours just creating it. My wife was sitting there going, why can't you clean the house with this kind of energy? And I was, yeah, I'm busy creating. So God love her. She puts up with me.
So, have you brought this game of yours into fruition through your book?
Oh, I have. I just sent one to my publisher. He wanted a copy. He's like, man, I want to see that game. I was like, I'll send you a copy of it. Luckily,
Right? Like,
I made 2 decks. So yeah, I actually used it with my students. They were kind of my test drive because I had played it many times, and my students were like, "We don't want to go to recess. Let's play this game some more." I was like, "Yeah,
that
that
sounds
sounds good to
cool.
me." So it was a lot of fun. It was fun to create. I mean, if you're not having fun, what are you doing? I really enjoy that creative aspect. It gives me that nice outlet, which I need. So
Well, I am excited to hear from the book today. So I guess that we will go ahead and get along onto that. For those of you who haven't ever joined us on this particular show, what's going to happen here is I'm going to give the whole screen over to Michael, and he will read to us for 20 to 30 minutes from his book while he's reading. I will be with you guys in the chat so that I can talk back and forth with you, take questions for him, and then we will pose those questions to him when he's done reading. And at the end of all of that, we will have a giveaway for a copy of the book. And also today we actually have a Patreon bonus as well. So if you're on our Patreon, you can look for that follow-up content coming out there. So with that said, are you ready to read, Michael?
let me get a drink of water and we'll begin.
Yep. Yes. And I mean, feel free to, take or pause at any time. You won't be able to see me because I'll be off screen, but I can hear you. So if you need to grab my attention, say something, and I will be, I'll come back.
No problem. I will, hopefully I can get through this. I taught for a long time. Hopefully I can read a book. So
I am sure you can read a book.
All right. Very good.
You're a teacher. I really hope you can read a book.
All right. Right. You never know. All right. Very good. I'm ready when you're ready. There we go. So this is The Raven and the Crow, Dark Storm Rising by me, Michael K. Falciani. I'm going to read the first chapter. I hope I don't read too fast. I tend to get fast when I get excited. So here we go. Chapter 1. They are late, Blade thought, suppressing the urge to sigh, if they even bother to show. Absently, the sage rubbed her temple, trying to knead away the tension she felt building at the top of her skull. Standing near Dusk Gate on the westernmost edge of Staltshore, she waited inside a secluded alcove at the base of the city's fortifications. She could hear the staccato of boots striking granite overhead as the lone sentry walked along the frost-covered battlements, oblivious to Blade's presence below. Coming to the end of the wall, the guard performed an about-face and began retracing his steps. The sage listened as the march of his steady footfalls faded into the night. Shivering, Blade wrapped her wool cloak more tightly around her shoulders in an effort to ward off the chill of new spring. Thankfully, there was no wind this night, else she may have succumbed to the siren song of warmth crooning from her own bedchamber across town. Well past midnight, Blade stood, determined to wait, with only the guard's hollow footsteps atop the battlements above marking the passage of time. A quarter hour passed until Blade's perseverance was rewarded. 2 figures slipped from behind the clump of buildings to the northeast, their flashing silhouettes illuminated for the briefest of moments by the glow of a crescent moon above. With scarcely a whisper, the pair made their way to her, their faces concealed in the hoods of their cloaks. Even hidden in the darkness, she could sense irritation, especially in the first. "What the hell, Blade?" a voice spat, bubbling with anger. "We just got back into town a few hours ago. You said we were done for the week. We haven't even been paid yet, and now you're sending us back out? This was not our agreement." "Easy, Kill," said the first, his voice more neutral. "Let her speak. It's not like she'd call us out here on a lark." Blade hesitated, knowing those words were closer to the truth than he realized. This was no lark. For a moment, she questioned the wisdom of sending these men on this mission. Inwardly, she shook her head. It didn't matter what she thought. It was these two, or no one. "Still your tongue, Kildare," Blade responded coolly to the first. "You do well to listen to your brother," she continued, nodding to the taller of the two. "Had you bothered to ask, 50 drachma had been credited to your account in Dobson's an hour ago, with a like sum in Zidane's name as well." "Well, what about dragging us from our beds at this hour?" the elder of the two retorted, unwilling to release his irritation so easily. "With no warning, no idea of what we're doing. And what kind of meeting place is this, skulking to the outskirts in the city of the dead of the night? Why couldn't we convene at Mason's in the morning?" "I would not," she began, but stopped as Zidane raised his hand in warning. Overhead, the sentry strode into sight. As before, the guard stopped at the gate, turned, and headed back along the battlements, unaware of the trio below. I would not ask unless the need was great, Blade stated quietly. To answer your question, we meet here and now because time is against us. I know you've just returned from your last assignment and wish to leave for Adian. I ask only that you delay that trip a few days, a week at most. I have an appointment there I cannot miss, Kildare argued. We have until the end of spring, chided Zidane. I want it over and done, Kildare shot back. That gluttonous pig is going to get what's coming to him. It won't hurt to wait the week, his brother replied with a wave of his hand. It's not like Judah's going anywhere. Turning, Zidane spoke directly to their employer. However, as much as it bothers me to admit this, he said, jerking his thumb in his brother's direction, Kildare has a point. Why call on us on this godforsaken hour? We just returned from that fiasco in Airspur, saving the Baroness from being deposed. That was headache enough. I've little desire to sign on for another of your missions of state. It's not politics this time, the sage responded. It's always some political shit with you, Kildare said with disgust. Save your lives for someone else. Now that you've managed to ruin a perfectly good evening, why don't you tell us what's so important that it couldn't wait until tomorrow? I need you to go into the Rhone Mountains, she answered. Blade did not need the light of the moon to know their mouths hung open in surprise. The Rhone Mountains? Zidane asked, recovering first. Why? The mountains aren't a particularly inviting place. I know, she responded simply. I'm trying to save someone's life. By risking ours? Kildare asked pointedly. I don't know anyone who's worth saving that badly, Zidane mumbled skeptically. This is of the utmost importance, she continued, or I would not have asked. In what part of the mountains? Kildare questioned. If it's in the foothills west of here, we could manage that, for the right price. But if it's anything beyond the canyon, it's miles past the canyon, she interrupted, having no patience to deal with the elder of the two. Zidane swore under his breath. You don't believe in sugarcoating things, do you? Where exactly beyond the canyon do you need us to go? The tension in her head increased, and she sighed, already knowing what their reaction would be. It's near the Mirrored Falls. Their shocked silence spoke volumes. You've got to be shitting me, Zidane snarled after when he found his voice. The Mirrored Falls. No one has been there since Istan's idiotic incursion. That's right in the middle of Magadha country. He and his army were torn to pieces. For Dorn's sake, why don't we just fall on our swords now and save you the trouble? Lower your voice, Blade warned with a quick look around in the surrounding darkness. I'm in complete agreement with Zidane, Kildare said, his voice more hushed. The Mirrored Falls lie on ground sacred to the Magadha. As the aforementioned Istan found out, we'd be killed upon discovery. Thanks for the offer, Blade, but you're wasting your time. And ours. I know how dangerous it is, she replied, steeling her resolve. That's why I need the two of you. Unfortunately, that's not all. You need to locate a plant that grows in the area. It's called Vyasha. Red Cup, Zidane asked, calling it by its common name. Why do we need to traipse into Magadha country to get that? It grows all over the valley, not half a league from here. I need a rare variant, Blade explained. It blooms for only a few hours in early spring. Most of the time, the Vyasha, or Red Cup if you prefer, will flower red. However, there's a hybrid that blooms a pale violet, almost white. I have seen it a handful of times through the years, and always near the Mirrored Falls. You must harvest it and bring it to me. When did you go to the Mirrored Falls? Zidane scoffed. Was there some history convention among the tribes you forgot to mention? Wait, let me get this straight, Kildare interrupted. You want us to risk our neck to find some rare plant in the middle of the deadliest stretch of mountains in the Rhone? You're the only people who know the way, Blade said, trying to explain. No doubt to save some low-life politician who wouldn't give a rat's ass about us, Kildare continued, angry enough now he wasn't even listening to Blade. Look, I know it's dangerous, Blade responded. It's suicide, Kildare hissed, close to losing his temper. Send the falcon, or the owl, or better yet, drag your own ass into the mountains. There's no way in hell I'm going. I've considered my other resources, she said, unfazed by his outrage. You two are the best at tracking, the best at wilderness survival. Both my buyer and I... She bit her tongue, cursing inwardly at her slip. Oh, there it is, Zidane said, acid dripping from his tongue. Now we're getting to the heart of the matter. One of your infamous and unknown buyers. By the gods, you make me sick, Blade. Money and politics. That's all you give a damn about. Of course not, she shot back. As I told you, this is about saving a life. Also, I don't hear either of you complaining when you get paid. How come every time one of your buyers needs something out of the ordinary, we get dragged into it? Zidane continued. This is such horseshit. Who is this buyer of yours anyway? For the first time that night, Blade's stomach tightened. If they found out who had made the request, no power on the face of the earth could make them go. The money is good, she answered, ignoring the question. That's all you need know. Quiet, both of you, Kildare said, cutting them off, his eyes searching the top of the battlements. Instantly, Zidane was on guard, assuming a low crouch, hand on the hilt of his sword. What is it? He whispered. What happened to the sentry? Kildare asked in a hushed tone. He should have returned by now. The battlements were shrouded in darkness, with only the faintest moonlight illuminating the causeway above. There was no sound of approaching footsteps, only the stillness of night. Well, maybe the rotation is changing, Zidane murmured as the moments dragged by. No, Kildare replied, eyes still searching. There's no movement at all. Something is wrong. A whirring from above was their only warning. Down, hissed Kildare, grabbing Blade by the collar and dragging her to the ground. Zidane dropped instantly at his brother's words, rolling quickly to his left. Sparks flew where metal struck granite in the space between which Kildare had been standing a moment ago. 3 more whirring sounds followed. Two objects shocked into the ground in rapid succession, narrowly missing Zidane's rolling form. The last slammed into the wooden frame of the alcove, a hair's breadth above where Kildare lay. Cursing, Zidane rose to one knee, sword in hand. The big hunter saw a dark blur detach itself from the shadows and flee atop the battlements. Hunt his ass down, Z! Kildare hissed, leaping to his feet, sword in hand. Zidane didn't need prompting. He set off at a dead sprint, bounding up the rampart, racing after the attacker. What the hell is going on? Kildare demanded for the second time that night. Who was that? Damn it, Sage, talk to me. Are you alive or not? I'm fine, she answered, rising to her feet. The sage took a moment to brush off the front of her tunic and leggings, her mind whirling. She told no one of this rendezvous. The message to meet at Dusk Gate had been delivered by her hand, dropped in a secret place only known to the 2 brothers and herself. There was no reason to suspect anyone would know of their whereabouts this night. Despite those precautions, someone had discovered them. Tensing, the sage cast her gaze towards Kildare, never truly knowing where his loyalties lie. Whom did you tell about this meeting? She asked evenly, slipping a hand under her cloak. His eyes never leaving the surrounding darkness, Kildare snorted in disgust. You have the audacity to accuse me, he breathed. You should know better than that, Sage. If I wanted you dead, you would be. Then how did you know there was an assassin in the shadows? She challenged, fingering the knife at her belt. I didn't know, Blade, but something wasn't right, he answered evenly. The post from Dusk Gate to Section 1 is 63 paces, he explained. The guard takes roughly 2.5 minutes per rotation. It's been almost 3 minutes since he last came this way. He was nowhere in sight. Soldiers tend to follow a routine. The pattern changed, and that's what drew my suspicion. You timed how long he took on his rounds? She asked. Yes, as we waited in the shadows, he answered. Zidane and I wanted to see if you were truly alone. He laughed harshly. It seems trust is in short supply these days. Now kindly remove your hand from the knife under your cloak and explain what just happened. Her misgivings subsided at his reasoning. For all the headaches he caused her, Kildare was pragmatic to a fault. The mercenary brothers were not cold-blooded killers. They'd not dispose of her on a whim. Despite their prickly demeanor, they had been loyal, if not to her, then to her coin. She let go of the knife and released a pent-up breath. I should not have doubted you. He turned to her grimly. If you're done thinking the worst of me, we can get back to the question I asked. Who wants you dead? Let's see what we can discover, she said in answer, peering down at the bottom portion of the doorway. In the light of the moon, she could make out a metal object with 4 razor-sharp triangular points, one of which was embedded deep in the wooden frame of the door. Glancing back, Kildare whispered, What is that, a knife? A shuriken, Blade answered in stunned amazement. The weapon of the Hashin, Kildare muttered under his breath, surprising the sage with his knowledge. Turning around, he took a step toward the alcove. I've not seen one in some time, he continued, reaching for the blade. Have a care, Blade warned. It's likely coated with poison. His hand froze halfway there. He let it drop to his side and stood up, looking at the sage. The lands of the 7 provinces are thousands of miles away, Blade, across the Ariath Ocean. What do they want with you? Leaving his question unanswered, Blade bent and searched the ground, finding 2 more of the weapons half buried in the earth. Leaning close, she examined them for a few moments before climbing to her feet and stepping toward the wall where the initial throw had struck. "Are you going to—" Kildare began before he dropped into a fighting stance and spun around with blazing speed. A figure emerged from the darkness on the wall. Zidane. "Escaped," the big hunter grated between clenched teeth. "That son of a bitch is well trained, I'll give him that. He didn't make a sound when he made off. No scraping of feet, no creaking boards, no slip in the mud. Nothing. I kept waiting for a dog's bark to give him away, but he didn't disturb a one. I can't track by moonlight, not someone that good." Looking at Blade, Zidane continued. "I checked on the sentry on my way back. Kildare was right. Whoever it was took out that guard. He's alive, though he received a nasty blow to the head. He should be up and about in a few days. I suppose he's lucky to be breathing, considering the skill of our attacker. Now, will someone explain to me what that was all about?" "That's what I've been trying to find out," Kildare replied in frustration. "She did something to piss off the 7 provinces." "No," Blade said quietly. She gestured to the spot where the first shuriken had struck. "It was not I who was standing there," she said quietly, letting her words sink in. "You were, Kildare." "Don't talk nonsense," he scoffed. "We were right next to each other. That throw could have been meant for either one of us." "The next 2 throws struck to Zidane's left as he rolled away," she continued, pointing to the ground where the pair of shuriken were buried. "The last," she said, pointing back at the door frame, "struck inches above where you took cover." "Are you saying we were the targets?" Zidane asked in disbelief. "But what for? What have you dragged us into? Why would this assassin target us?" She let out a long sigh. "It's possible that someone discovered who you—" "No," Kildare spat, his words cutting through the darkness like a knife. "That's not possible." "How can you be certain?" Blade asked. "Sooner or later, someone is going to recognize one of you." "We're done talking about it," Zidane said flatly. The throbbing in her head increased. The sage knew she could not question them further without risking their service. Her task of convincing them to go into the mountains was difficult before the attack. Now it would be nearly impossible. "If we could get back to the task at hand," she began. "You still want us to go into the mountains?" Zidane questioned, incredulous. "Screw your buyer, Blade," he seethed. "I've got a new task in mind. I'm all for hunting down that bastard who just tried to murder us in cold blood." "You'll not find him," Blade explained, trying to remain calm. "If it was one of the Hashin, he will leave no trace." "I don't give a goddamn who he is," he raged. "I'll find him by tomorrow night and rip his bloody head off." "And what will you be looking for?" she challenged. "I didn't see the assassin clearly. Did you? All we saw was a blur in the night. For all we know, it could have been a woman." "You wouldn't even know what you were hunting." "I can track anyone," Zidane countered, unrelenting. "Come dawn, I'll find the trail and hunt that bastard down." "You're not listening," she replied, struggling to maintain her composure. "I know how skilled you are. You're one of the finest trackers in the Rhone. But the Hashin are trained from birth. You'll not find him." "I don't care what skills he possesses," Zidane said harshly. "No one tries to kill me and gets away with it. I'm going after that assassin at first light." "You won't be alone," Kildare grunted, turning to leave. "I'm done with this, Blade. Best of luck to you." Near panic set in as the pair started off. If they walked away now, the fate of the entire Crystalline Sea was sealed. "You cannot go!" she called in desperation, her voice shriller than she'd intended. The brothers turned, blinking in surprise. After months of working with the sage, they had never seen her lose her cool. "We work for you," the elder brother said, his voice dangerously quiet. "More accurately, we work for your gold. You don't own us. You don't tell us what to do. No one does. We left that life behind years ago. We're here as a courtesy because we respect you, Blade. Once that respect goes, we go. You do well to remember that." "I know," she said, her voice suddenly weary. "Please, forgive my words. They were spoken in haste. Please, don't leave." The brothers exchanged a look. "You are offering us an apology?" Kildare said, surprise in his voice. "I've never heard you like this." "Who's important enough for us to risk going into the Rhone Mountains?" Zidane asked. "No game, sage." "I don't have any answers you'd want to hear," she explained, deflecting his question. "I'd much rather send you into Shara. That's where the real problems are." "Then send us there," Kildare said. "I prefer civilization to running around the Rhone Mountains." "Every fiber of me wants to do that very thing," the sage answered. "The greatest threat to the lands of the Crystalline Sea is Shara. The country is in turmoil. It teeters on the brink of civil war. If the wrong person takes control of Galens, no one will be safe. How can that be? Kildare asked skeptically. Surely things haven't deteriorated so much. You know nothing of the world, son of Brisbane, Blade interrupted, shocking him into silence. The politics of the Crystalline Sea have changed these past months. The power in Shara is like a dark storm rising, ready to unleash its fury on every surrounding nation. It will take but a single spark to ignite the fires of war. I have seen it before. In your 23 summers, you've seen battle, yes, but never war. Entire cities put to the torch, armies ravaging the countryside. Through my efforts and those of the Knights of Steel, the Crystalline Sea has remained in relative peace for years. The power in Shara is something no one has seen in generations. She paused, letting her words sink in. Despite the issue in Shara, you must go into the mountains. That is the request I received, and I will see it through. The plant I seek, the Viasha, is medicine powerful enough to hold even death at bay. That's what my buyer has requested. That's why you must go. I know how dangerous the journey is. I doubt any of my knights could survive it. Without this medicine, a good man will die, and the Crystalline Sea will plunge into chaos. I've already delivered the last of the Viasha I had in storage. That's why I need you two. The fate of the entire region may well depend on your success. The two brothers looked at one another for a long moment. All right, Sage, Kildare said with a sigh. We'll go, though in all probability we're going to die in those mountains. Maybe you will, brother, Zidane snickered. The Magadha won't even know I'm there. I'm sneakier than you are. You couldn't sneak up on a 3-day corpse, Kildare retorted. Wait, so you'll go? Blade asked, stunned at their sudden change of heart. That's what I just said, isn't it? Kildare answered sarcastically. We'll go, Zidane interjected, turning to Blade. But I value my hide a lot more than 50 dracs. How much will it take? She asked. 10 times that amount, Kildare answered. 500 drachmas each, with all expenses of this little outing paid for by your buyer, whoever it is. Saving a life doesn't come cheaply. They want to live? Then they can pay. And after this is over, we're taking a break, a month at least. Is there anything else? She asked. Yes, Zidane answered, his anger flashing again. You find that assassin. I don't care what it takes. You find him. I will do what I can, she said simply. Just like that, huh? Kildare shook his head. You drop 1,000 silver for us to run into the Rhone Mountains? This person you want us to save had better be some kind of savior to mankind. He leaned in close, his voice like ice. If I find out you're using us for some other purpose, Sage, you'll have more than Shara to worry about. I've been as forthright as I can, Blade responded. You're being paid a small fortune for your services. I suppose you want us to leave now, grumbled Zidane. Time is of the essence, she replied. Both men reached down and grabbed their packs. She could make out longbows and sheaves of arrows, strapped tightly in place, along with bedrolls and canteens of water. A day or 2 to find the falls and 3 to find this Viasha, Kildare said, tightening a cinch on his pack. 5 days in the mountains, not a second more. Have our payment ready, whether we find your medicine or not. For your sake, I hope you're right about this. You'll have to harvest the entire plant, Blade said. The petals, roots, leaves. We know how to harvest a plant, Zidane said irritably. Just don't forget about that assassin. You can bet your ass I won't. They moved toward the ramp, but Kildare hesitated, turning back to her. She could feel his angry eyes on her skin. One last thing, Sage, he snarled. Don't you ever refer to me as a son of Brisbane again. That part of my life is long dead. Your politicians made damn sure of that. Shall I have the guard open the gate? She asked, ignoring his threat. Zidane snorted over his shoulder. Don't do us any favors. Without another word, the two men climbed the ramparts and vanished over the wall. Blade stood a moment longer, the lone witness to their departure. Of all her knights, none had the skill to survive this trip. Neither the owl nor the condor could track well enough. Even her best warrior, the hawk, did not have the fighting skills necessary. Only these two men had a chance, and they were wild cards, both of them. She sighed, thinking of the code names bestowed upon them by the other knights in her network. You have been aptly titled, she whispered. Turning back to the alcove, Blade carefully gathered the shuriken for further study. She needed to send a Chairugan to check on the sentry above. No doubt the poor man would be unsuitable for duty over the next few days. I hope you're right about this. Kildare's words came back to her, and she shivered. This time, the cold had nothing to do with the chill she felt running down her spine. No, she whispered. I pray that I am wrong. That's chapter 1.
Very, very good. Well, thank you. That was not fast-paced and exciting, actually, for a secret meeting.
Yeah, well, I'm a fast-paced kind of guy, so.
Well, no, I mean, it was good. I was listening the whole time. So we do have some questions out there as well from some folks. So
Oh, good.
Yeah, definitely. Let me scroll back up here in our chat to find the beginnings. Let's see. Ah, yes. I'm not sure how serious we are, but I did say I would ask, how much caffeine do you have daily?
Dude, that's from William. He knows I don't drink coffee. I don't know what he's talking about. He knows this already. I do not drink caffeine. I don't drink Coke, nothing. I am caffeine free.
Why? Why would you be caffeine free?
I got a lot of issues. I don't know. These guys are constantly giving me crap about it. I'm like, come on, now. What are you talking? I don't have to drink coffee.
I'm from the Mecca of Starbucks. So,
I know. My words are falling on deaf ears. I got it.
Just one. Okay. So there's our funny question. Let's see. We have let's see. I like the characters referencing shared events from before. How much prehistory prior to when the book starts have you written, and how much is required to understand a character and fill them with depth?
Yeah, this is a great question, actually. Newton file. That's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you saw this at the beginning. I've worked on this for many years. Actually, I started this when I was 25 years old, I think, and I'm approaching 50. So this has been a long time.
No, you're not.
I am.
You have a high energy.
That no caffeine thing is kicking in. To answer his question, yeah, there's a lot of prehistory here. I actually have in mind when I finish this, and this is supposed to be a 6-book series. Book 2 is actually with my publisher, and it's complete. I'm just waiting for the word from him. But there's a good 3-book prequel novels that I could probably do, and there's a lot of history. I do a lot of exercising, hiking, running, and things like that. And when I'm out there, I don't really listen to music. This is the stuff that's going through my head. That world has been created on the trails of Nevada, so in Carson City. So there is a ton. I do, and I think the more background you have for your characters, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah.
And as far as the end of this question, how much is required to understand a character to fill them with depth? I mean, I wish I could tell you I knew that. I still got the new car smell on me. I've been published for a month, so I can't answer that question. For me, I think you need some. I don't think they need to know every single detail. And I will tell you, as I write, more and more things come in there. I'm like, man, I could do that. And that could happen just at a moment's notice. So, you know what? I think as long as you, the author, is satisfied with their backstory, I think that's a good place to be. And that's just my opinion. I don't know, but that's how I feel. I didn't write this book for everybody else. I wrote it for me. I wanted to have a fun book that I thought made sense. And this is what I wrote.
Write what you want to read. That's what they say.
Yes.
I'm curious, kind of in relation to this, what do you think is more important, if more is even the right word to use there? Do you think it's more important with regards to how well you know your characters and fill them with depth? The character has qualities, personality qualities that you are predefined. So, for example, you know that your character is allergic to pepper, and you know that your character gets really mad if their shoes come untied, or if somebody swears in their presence, right? Is it more important to just know these framework qualities? That way, when they occur in the book, you know how this character will react? Or is it more important to know the actual history of how those things came to be? in order to flesh the character out
Yeah,
when
I see what
similar
you're saying.
situations?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say it's important to know that history, and even the circumstance that they might hear something in, the way they will react has to do with what's happening around them. If they're in the middle of a social scene, they might act differently than they would if they were alone. For example, when I just read Blade had brought up something, well, maybe you've been recognized. They didn't even want to talk about it. That will set them off. That's something. And of course, I know why. And as you read the book and you get into the second book, you're going to know why. And you're going to see why they're upset. And they have a legitimate reason. So, I mean, all of those things you have to know ahead of time. And then that's difficult because when you're planning out a 6-book series, I don't know exactly what's going to be in book 6. I have no idea.
Right.
I have a general idea of what's going to be in book 6. I know the things I want to happen, but how they're going to get there, that's a lot of nuance. So it's tough. And if you do something in book 1 and it doesn't savvy with book 6, you can't do it. So you got to know you have to know a lot about what you're doing. And it is hard. It's hard to do it. Writing is a tough gig, as I'm finding out.
Well, you answered already the how many books do you have planned for the series? So that was 6, I think is what you said, right?
There will be 6, and I do have plans for a 3-book sequel. And I actually wrote a novella. I just sat down. I was like, I want to write this, and I know that's going to be part of it. And I've stayed there with a couple people, and they were sitting there going, "How did you come up with?" I got a lot going on. I don't know, but yeah. So there could be potentially 9 books in the series.
I like the idea of like the little novellas, kind of side stories for characters to help sort of develop or flesh them out. Or
I believe I was writing it for a contest, and I said, forget it, I'm just going to write this for myself. I'll write something else for the contest. I want to go with this. So, and it ended up being twice as long as it was supposed to be. So I was really excited about it.
Sometimes you just have to follow the creative lead that your brain decides it wants to take.
Strike while the iron's hot, I always say.
It was so funny. Like as soon as you were reading the part where Chick was like, "I'll pay that higher price," I was like, haha, I knew they were going to get paid more. Like, this conversation sounds a lot like you have deep pockets and you need to reach further. Yeah.
They were. Yeah, it's going to take a lot of money to get these guys to go wherever they're supposed to go.
If you don't feel it, it's not sincere enough.
And that's another thing. I mean, it's in there because it shows like they're not doing anything for free. They're not goody two shoes. They're like, I don't care what's good for mankind. I want to know what I'm getting out of this. So
right. Yeah, no, they definitely were. I think I personally was somewhat irritated at the despicable attitude towards politics and politicians, right? Like, and then finally, you don't know anything about this. And I was like, ha ha ha! Tell him, like,
no,
the world that you are so comfortable in doesn't exist without other people doing their part, right? Like, so here we go. With a pair of brothers as main characters, have you taken inspiration for their relationship from interpersonal relationships in your life?
Oh yeah, I got a bunch of brothers. We are constantly on. Wait till these guys start, going after each other. I mean, that's kind of the humor, when I just got back from a trip from New York. I mean, we haven't seen each other, since the pandemic. So it's a couple of years have gone by. We go right back into it. So, that is nice. And of course, you have interpersonal relationships with people at work, people at the gym or wherever.
Yeah.
And it's surprising how much of that stuff, I was like, I'm going to put that in. I like that. Or you hear somebody's name, like, I like that name. I'm going to change one letter and I'm putting that in. So yeah, I think those interpersonal relationships are important, but it's also important, as you've read books and watch shows or whatever, you do want to see some of those things that maybe I wasn't necessarily it wasn't my idea. So somebody else had that, but I was like, I'm going to spin that to my own little twist. So another great question.
I like to watch movie credits for name ideas.
Right. I got students. I'm like, what's that kid's name? I'm writing that down.
Yeah. Just one little letter add, one little letter swap. Okay, it's 2:55. I just noticed the time. And before I get to a last couple of questions here, I want to say to everybody out there on the audience, now is the time to put your name into the comment section if you would like to be entered to win a free copy of today's book. So put your name there. When we're done with our last question, I will then put you guys onto the Wheel of Win and we'll spin it and see who wins, because that's what the Wheel of Win is for. So I had a question about the map designing and the cultures of
Huh?
your world. So obviously, since it's not taking place on an Earth, a transparent Earth realm, have you designed and made maps for this and all of the cultures? Like, how in depth have you really made your cultures? And kind of sounds like you've got some different language, linguistically sounding names for peoples and languages and other such things. Like, is that it's just as necessary, or did you define each of those things to kind of bring them in and
Yeah,
incorporate them?
I just feel like I always like I said I use the Mediterranean Sea and I love history. I've always loved history. I love my favorite author is this guy named David Gemmell who I don't know if you've read any of his stuff, but a lot of his stuff takes place. He did something in the about the Greeks. He did something about the Britons and the Scots and I always like that kind of those kind of worlds. So to me, I definitely wanted the worlds to have their own, the countries to have their own feel and their own cultures. And countries could be right next to each other, but those cultures are completely different. Had we gotten into later into the book, because we see the Kildare Zidane storyline established, that's one half. There's another half where there's a bloody secession going on, and we take a look, and in that culture, females have almost no rights. They're really not treated well, and I'm not really like that, but in order to write that up, I have to think, well, what are they allowed to say? Do they have certain political power if they're if they're related to somebody who's strong? So, yeah, I love that, and I love the different flavors. As I said, I was down in Mexico when I designed that game. There was another time when I was writing a chapter, and I was walking the streets of I think it's what's it called, the Marcon, the Markelicon or something in Mexico, and yeah, and as I walked by, I saw all these street vendors, and I saw the food that was out, and that influenced me in that whole chapter. I was like, man, I'm writing about that stuff. So, you definitely have those different flavors, different countries, and different vibes in each one. That's the way I wanted to write it, and I think it's a good thing. I don't want everybody to be exactly the same. There's a place to the south that's really based on ancient Egypt, and I haven't even touched that area yet. So.
Alrighty then. With that said, let me grab our wheel of win here, and there are 3 ways for you guys to get your names onto the wheel of win. One is to put them in the comments here during the show. One is to join the channel, and then you will be entered into every single drawing that we do, regardless of whether or not you're here. And the last way is to join the Patreon, and the same thing. So a maximum of 3 entries per person. Here is our wheel, and this is for a copy of today's book. And I believe you said that they have their choice of either an ebook or a physical copy. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I actually think they would probably want the actual book more, but that's up to them. And I'm not even sure I'm not sure I would send it to them. I just mail it to them because that's what I was planning on.
Yes,
Okay,
I will give you their information.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yes,
I'm like, I don't know what to do with it. Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
No, I will take care of that after the show. So
hey, it's one of my first times, so I'm just happy to be here. Whatever you say I'm good with.
All right, here we go. Woo! And Skrilla Loot, you are the winner today. Congratulations to you. All right. She's actually one of our Patreon patrons and has been for a really long time. So thank you so much for being a patron. And with that said, then that kind of brings us to the end of our show today. Do you have anything that you'd like to say before we let you go?
Wow. I want to thank people for, showing up and asking questions. I want to thank you for having me. Such a pleasure to be here. If you're interested, you can follow me on Michael K. Falciani. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. You can get me on Facebook. That's probably the best way. I've had several people, somewhere overseas actually, that have said, "Hey, I heard about your book. Can you send me a signed copy?" And I said, "Of course."
Nice.
So if that's something that you're interested in, I'm happy to sign them. You'll have to just pay the price of the book and whatever the shipping is, and it's inside the United States. It's not too bad. So
Yep.
if you're
Got
interested
that
in
media
that,
mail.
yes, if you're interested in that, great. And again, thank you so much for having me. I really had a great time. I hope people like the reading. I try not to mess it up.
No, actually, you did really, really well. So
Oh,
I think
thanks.
you only like paused or like stumbled over a word or a sentence a couple times, which
I
is
know. If only I'd had caffeine, right?
well, yeah, exactly, right? No, I was thinking if you were recording, that would be fantastic because every time you have to stop when you're recording is another point in
Oh,
your post-production that you have to go back and like edit the spaces out. So the more that you can read without having any kind of a pause or a stop, essentially the more cost effective it is.
right.
So, yep.
Right. Oh,
So,
the other thing I would say is it is going to be an audio. We just selected a gentleman to do it, and man, what a great! He actually just sent me. My publisher just
a
sent me the
sample.
first. Yeah, I was like, that's way better than what I was doing. So, yeah, it
Well,
was
that's
really
always a
good.
good thing to do.
Yes, I was so impressed. I was like, man, forget it. Whatever he said is the way to go. So,
Nice. Well, that is fantastic. And today's Friday, so we will let you go here this afternoon and bid you a good weekend. Tomorrow, Saturday, we will be actually out in Kitsap doing a live gathering there at the South Kitsap Regional Park. If you guys happen to be in the area. And then on Sunday, we are having our live Discord, or not live, sorry, our virtual Discord game. So we will be doing that starting in the afternoon on Sunday. So I think with all of that said, then thank you so much for being here. And remember,
my pleasure.
Yep, like and subscribe, everybody, and please go check out Michael's work. And have a good Friday and happy afternoon. Bye bye.
Hello friends, this is Gunther Hammerhands. Thank you for checking out Fairy Princess Lolly's channel. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button. Use your troll hammer to ring that little bell icon to get notifications when she posts future videos. And if you'd like to support these magical creations, fly over to our Patreon and join the fairy family.